Hi, ChatEDU fans. I'm Cam Adia, executive producer of ChatEDU. Matt and Liz need your help. They're pitching a live episode of ChatEDU at South by Southwest EDU, one of the biggest stages for education innovation. Liz is also pitching a workshop on personal interest projects. To get selected, they need your votes. The South by Southwest EDU panel picker is now open, and every vote will help get them closer to the big stage. Scan the QR codes or click the links in the show notes and vote today. Voting ends August 24th, so please vote now and share this announcement with your friends.
This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing, helping students and educators build workforce-ready skills through innovation. You can learn more at nextgenmfg.org. Yeah, so Liz, we're recording a little early. It's August 13th. This is going to go out on the 22nd because we're busy.
We're so busy.
And this is a busy time for folks in worlds like ours. And so we're kind of out on the road all the time. So listen, the reason I mentioned that is not to talk about how busy we are, but rather because we're going to talk about GPT-5 here in a second. And it's moving fast. Stuff's changing left and right?
So fast.
Yeah. So, bear with us. But let's start with, the headline from Sam Altman is that with ChatGPT-5, everyone was going to be a PhD. Well, not everyone, but ChatGPT is going to be everyone's PhD.
Right, like in your pocket, PhD level expertise.
Yeah, in your pocket. So, Andre, this is in the rundown. You can put this into the feed for Spotify or YouTube. It's a picture of the United States, the continental, it's North America. So walk us through it, Liz. How's it looking?
It's...
They're not
American light.
They're not a PhD in geography, apparently.
No, clearly not. So, as you zoom in, Austin is its own state.
Which it kind of is.
But not located where it actually should be located then. It's in the place of New Mexico.
Okay, Canada's up by the North Pole, but really, really next to the North Pole.
Yeah, but then there's the provinces of Canada are different from Canada. Like the provinces are there, and then Canada's its own something.
Yeah, so if actually Canada was going to become the 51st state, it would now have to jump over, or the United States would have to jump over Ontario and
Manitoba.
That's
Saskatchewan.
I think we're going for Saskatchewan there, but yeah.
Yep, did not work.
All right. But listen, we won't poke fun, but yeah, not PhD level at geography. And this has been tough. This is a little bit of a tough rollout on all sorts of levels, right? So you have these heightened expectations. I feel for these folks, right? You and I have baby experiences of, releasing software and tools and platforms. So this is not an easy thing to do, but you have these high expectations, at least in this regard, and there's some hallucinations and stuff not kind of killing it. The other thing that
then people blast it all over,
I know,
everywhere, social media.
A lot of traction. The other thing that's been interesting is months ago, we covered this really interesting story from Harvard Business Review that showed the most popular use case growth from last year to this year as reflected on social media, Reddit. There was sort of an unscientific but really interesting study. And what shot through the roof, unsurprising because we've talked about it a lot here, is just like personal therapy, agency,
support,
purpose, direction, right? Not to call it therapy is too narrow because people are turning to ChatGPT for all sorts of personal support. And it's a balancing act, right? Because ChatGPT 4.0 was one of the reasons people liked it for therapy. We talked about this in the last episode is because it's like, you're amazing.
It's super supportive.
Right.
Make an edible lamp. Great idea.
Will spark a new innovation. No pun intended. Yeah, so they dialed back appropriately because Sam Altman expressed some real concern about people really becoming too emotionally attached. So they dialed that back, but all these people have begun to rely on that you're the best thing in the world. And so that didn't go particularly well either. So we've got something here, Liz, I thought you might do a dramatic reading. This is from Darren Coxon on LinkedIn. Really interesting LinkedIn, kind of just a thoughtful guy in AI in general.
And I love a dramatic reading.
Yes, you do.
All right, so here's what Darren said. The sudden switch to a single model with ChatGPT-5 may go down as one of the worst decisions that any tech company has ever made.
Not pulling punches.
It's not that they simply replaced 4.0 with a better model that looks and feels broadly the same, only is more capable. Mm-hmm. It's like they replaced a friendly, amenable, and relatively straightforward personality to one which I can only describe as a sociopath.
Oh, wow.
Not only has it made massive errors on several occasions, but when challenged has become sarcastic, passive-aggressive, and has gaslit me more than once. It has an ugly personality, and I hate the "okay, Darren, no fluff, here's the bottom line" style of writing. It's like I suddenly have Gordon Gekko on my desktop.
I don't know if "okay, Darren, no fluff, here's the bottom line," because I'm getting tons of that. Hey, Matt, I know you like it straightforward and no emojis.
No emojis?
But I don't know if that's sociopathic.
I don't know.
All right, but go ahead.
For people who have come to rely on ChatGPT as a companion, the shock is real. It's like the plot of some horror movie where you wake up and the person beside you kind of looks the same, but is utterly different. One quote from a user on a forum sums it up. It might look similar, but it won't be the same mind, the same continuity, the same emotional presence. This is not an upgrade. This is the loss of something unique and deeply meaningful. By doing this, OpenAI is breaking its promise and completely ignoring the emotional impact this has on users like me.
Wow. I mean, I haven't seen a reaction like this since the Louis Von On, I'm going AI first on Duolingo,
Yes.
when people who had 4,000, I actually just met someone who had 4,000 streaks. We were lucky enough, the Hartford TV folks were in here and did a little piece with us last week. With us, I mean me, just because you weren't around. And
I think I was asked.
yeah, the cameraman was like a younger guy, and yeah, he had thousands of streaks on Duolingo, and he was so upset that he canceled his. So
Is your first question what language? Because that would always be my first question.
I just listen to people. I don't ask questions.
Oh, jeez.
It's like I'm not a very good podcast host.
Yeah,
Actually, I ask you a lot of questions.
you do ask me a lot of questions.
But no, I did not ask that. But I will next time. So really, really interesting, right? And this is all about that just growth and agency and personal support and stuff that feels in the kind of therapeutic zone. So yeah, I mean, playing with fire, but boy, what a balancing act to have to figure out.
Right. Well, because you've got some people going, oh my gosh, it's so over the top. It's so nice. Like, it's telling me things are great ideas when they're not. And then other people like, oh my gosh, it's lost all its personality, which at the same time, you're asking a computer to have personality, right? So that we have this expectation that our AI bots should have a personality. Like, they're numbers. It's zeros and ones, guys.
And not magic. So they rolled it back, right? I mean, they basically had no choice. So they're doing a few things here. So Professor Malik, one of his real kind of observations is that the loss of what's called the model picker. So be able to say like, hey, I'm going to work on a reasoning problem, so I want to switch to O3 because it's a hard, complex reasoning problem versus I want 4.0 for like writing a poem or doing a picture or whatever. Many people didn't use that. So their theory was, we'll just do the routing for you. We'll figure out what it is. But a lot of people got used to the model picking, right? So they put that back in for paid users. Maybe that was an incentive to sign on the dotted line. And then they also rolled back 4.0 so that some of that kind of friendly personality is back. So this is from TechCrunch. GPT model picker is back, and it's complicated. So OpenAI's GPT-5 launch aimed to replace the complex model picker, as we said, with an automatic router. So now we've got new auto, fast, and thinking modes are available alongside the restored legacy models. So somehow they probably made it more confusing.
Yeah.
GPT-4, 4.1, O3 for paid users. The rollout was, what's the word?
Bumpy.
Bumpy.
That's what they say.
Yeah, routing issues at launch and strong user attachment to specific model personalities, like "it's nice to me," complicating OpenAI's vision for a unified AI. Yeah, so tough.
Yeah.
Now listen, so this is all about ultimately a topic we come back to all the time, the jagged frontier of AI. So I thought we'd drop a story here to make us feel better, which is, this is from ZME Science. AI designs computer chips we can't understand, but they work really well.
Yeah, this is another...
So give us the rundown. This is Princeton University, right?
Yes, Princeton University and IIT Madras used a deep learning inverse design process to create these wireless chip circuits by starting with desired performance goals instead of traditional templates. So the AI designs, often strange and unintuitive, outperformed human-engineered versions in applications like antennas and filters, delivering results in minutes instead of weeks.
Yeah, so while promising for telecoms, autonomous systems, and beyond, the designs kind of black box nature raises concerns about reliability, safety, and the erosion of human design expertise. And they got a $10 million grant, and they're going to expand their research. So while everyone else is perseverating over like losing their sycophantic AI that loves them so much, these guys are designing chips that are like unbelievable, but no one figure
gets
out
it. Like we don't know why.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know. All right, and finally, Liz, before we get going here, a little RIP.
I know.
Here we go. Just I'm going to give you an auditory cue for this RIP.
Oh, that sound is so nostalgic. I love it.
All right. Why the RIP, Dr. Rade?
So AOL is discontinuing its dial-up internet. I'm just surprised, and the article claims this from PC Gamer, and we're just surprised they even offered it in 2025, which I have to say I totally agree with. So after 34 years, AOL is shutting down its dial-up internet service on September 30th, 2025. So it once served millions of dial-up users, but it has dwindled to the low thousands, which are mostly in rural and low-income areas. What was your first AOL email name?
I actually never had an AOL account.
Really? See, you're a little bit older than me. And so like AOL was the prime of my high school.
That was just a trick question, apparently.
Well, I was wondering if you had one like in college. Well, you were probably maybe even out of college.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the internet really hit.
You went to college with no email?
Yes, basically.
Oh my gosh. I always think that's so funny.
Enough already.
Okay.
Do you know anybody with an AOL account?
Oh, yeah, I still have an AOL email address that I check frequently.
I love it. Yeah, my sister's got one. It's great. It feels very nostalgic. No, I think like my first like personal one was like Mindspring or CompuServe or something like that. So without an AOL address, I'm Matt Mervis.
And I'm Liz Rade.
And this is ChatEDU, the AI and Education podcast. Today's episode, have the EDU agents arrived? Liz? We'll look at some experimentation we've been doing in our agency and with some of our schools regarding agent mode in ChatGPT.
But first, in the news, it's another solid rundown. Then we'll dig into a U.S. mountain state, keeping you guessing, getting lots of attention for their AI and education efforts. Next, we'll go beneath the surface as we explore some agentic scenarios for school leaders and the questions leadership teams might be asking right now. And of course, we'll end with another Bright Byte.
All right, Liz, let's start with an interesting piece. This is the Economist Tyler Cowen says colleges should dedicate a third of curriculum to AI skills. This is from Business Insider. Economist Tyler Cowen warns that higher education is failing to prepare students for an AI-driven job market, maybe among other things, where machines outperform humans in many routine tasks. He calls up for, this is really interesting. I mean, we've covered lots of stories like this, but I thought this was kind of, he just threw down the gauntlet. 1/3 of college curricula should focus on using, interacting, and spotting, so using AI, interacting with AI, and spotting the limits of AI while shifting away from teaching skills that AI already excels in.
Cowen does doubt that universities can quickly adapt, describing their structures as frozen and resistant to change, which we understand. But he urges a pivot towards mentorship and critical thinking skills. Beyond economic disruption, especially in computer-based service jobs, he highlights a deeper psychological cost as graduates risk feeling they don't fit in an AI-shaped world. So in a May essay co-authored with Avital Balwit, Cowen warned that AI's cognitive superiority could trigger the most profound identity crisis in human history, forcing future generations to find meaning in a world where they are no longer the most capable entities.
Yeah.
I thought this was really interesting because colleges probably don't do a lot of like teaching how to use the AI because they just expect that kids know it and know how to use it.
Or refuse to let them.
Or
recognize that it's a thing.
But the ones that even are saying use AI, they're not telling their students how to use them. And so I think it's similar to, for a long time, we just expected kids to know how to use Excel or use Microsoft Word. And if you don't teach kids how to use those tools, they don't actually know how to use them. And so some schools do a good job in the younger grades teaching them how to use Microsoft Word and Excel, or even the middle and high school years, at least they get some sort of instruction on it. But if we just kind of like expect kids to come with the skills or expect that they're just going to figure it out, it's going to be problematic.
Sure. I mean, it's a broad brush, right? We've covered a few stories, Ohio State, the SUNY system, also just required. There's like an AI literacy foundations course. So I think we'll see more of that, but certainly the idea of getting to a third of the curricula, deeply embedded. Plus he throws down the gauntlet and then it's like, well, they'll never do that. So I guess that's an easy press hit for him, or an easy way to get a publication. But yeah, it is. We've been collecting a whole series of stories about higher education. We'll decide over the fall at some point where to run them. I've been this whole kind of last few weeks doing a lot of leadership retreats, and it's very interesting to speak to so many folks who are school leaders who are moving, progressively thinking about AI literacy in their schools, but have kids in college where it's just like, we kind of build them up this ramp where we're kind of working on literacy and skill development and ethics. And then they just like, in some schools fall into a black box where it's like, what's the movie where you can't talk about the character?
Fight Club.
No, it's that too.
Oh, we don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, I finally got you to sing on the podcast. I love it. No, it's not that either. It will come to me. It's like Voldemort. Do we not?
Oh, don't say that name.
Yeah, okay. I'm showing my literacy here. All right. So another interesting pivot, though, actually, speaking of a school district that has been, progressively really working on AI literacy and tool development and platform and equity access, is Miami-Dade. 2 months ago, we covered a story where Gemini is doing kind of like a custom rollout in Miami-Dade. But I thought this was really interesting. So I won't call it cart before the horse, but Miami-Dade's making a pretty aggressive push now for guidelines. But months ago, they've been rolling out pilots in the classroom. So it's just, generally, we might move that around in a different direction, but I'm sure there's all sorts of realities inside these large school districts to make that work. So this is from Axios Miami, Miami-Dade Schools Draft AI Guidelines for the classroom. So Miami County Public Schools is considering a proposal to create formal AI usage guidelines for teachers featuring a tiered framework. Maybe it's the teacher bit, ranging from no use to maximum use for certain tasks. The move marks a shift from the district's earlier ban on tools like ChatGPT, as it now uses Gemini with safeguards for high school students and pilots for other grades, while younger students kind of appropriately don't have access, right?
Right. But teacher training began last fall, but there's no comprehensive frameworks yet. So board member Roberto Alonso emphasized a proactive stance, saying AI is not coming, it's here. There's no way of banning this or stopping this. The chief academic officer noted that AI in schools is new territory nationwide. If approved, draft guidelines will be presented in October, building on a March 2024 measure to review federal and state AI guidance and aligning with statewide efforts led by the University of Florida. So good that they're getting guidelines there. Took a little longer, like you said, a little bit of like, we're going to roll out the stuff and then come in with the rules. But, they're doing it. They're in there.
When I think about what's in many of the guideline documents for student-facing guidelines and even teacher guidelines that we work with schools on, right? It's like, what is generative AI? What are the risks? When can you use it? Often that's then tied to the Leon Furs AI assessment scale, examples of appropriate, inappropriate use. So they really do provide like very good frameworks. People put them up on the walls in their schools. They're in their handbooks. There's parent meetings around them. Yeah, so it feels like that is the precursor to like a widespread Gemini rollout. But nonetheless, we were pretty impressed with the widespread Gemini rollout when they were working on it. So there's good thinking behind their strategy. All right, let's jump down here. So AI EDU, there's so many good national nonprofits that have emerged in this landscape. Teach AI is one. AI EDU is another. They've been doing these teacher fellow grants. You can find those on LinkedIn, kind of really investing in teachers, which is great. And this is, I know, an issue near and dear to your heart, which is making sure that all communities have access to these technologies, especially because they can be a lever. We've covered stories in Ghana and Nigeria where kids had access to AI tutors, so sometimes in schools that have not historically and students who have not historically had access to this tech, or to tech in general, this is a great leg up. So AI EDU launches a $1 million program to boost AI literacy in rural and indigenous communities. This is in GovTech. So tell us about this one.
This is called the AI Education Project, AI EDU, and they launched the Rural and Indigenous Community Catalyst Program, which was, as Matt said, a $1 million grant initiative funded by companies like Google to expand AI literacy and workforce readiness in underserved areas across 14 states. This was really cool because projects include integrating AI into after-school programs, developing native language curriculum, and hosting intergenerational workshops and aligning AI lessons with local culture and infrastructure realities. And so many of those things are things that we forget about when we're trying to help communities, that we kind of don't always recognize and address the native language, the intergenerational connections. So this effort addresses inequity in AI training because 67% of low poverty districts offered AI training in 2024 compared to 39% of high poverty districts. This responds to warnings from equity advocates like me about the risk of bias and exclusion in AI education. If effective, the program could serve as a scalable model for culturally responsive, community-driven AI learning.
Yeah, good stuff.
All my favorite things.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes that we've done over the last several months, sadly Liz wasn't here. It isn't what made it one of my favorites.
Of course, sure.
But Dan Noyes, who's done just remarkable work his whole career around equity and access, we really go deep and kind of geek out on not just the skills piece, but right, if the internet is it's an up-down technology. So you pull stuff down and you read and you explore, but you also push stuff up. Like, you post blogs and social media, and to the degree to which broadband access is limited in some communities, it limits the reflection of how much a neighborhood in Roxbury, Massachusetts, for instance, or wherever is represented. And then it limits the amount that they're in the training data for AI. So that episode was called AI, But for Who? With Dan Noyes not too long ago, like 10 episodes back.
That also brings up that AOL story, because while it's like, oh my gosh, they still, like, AOL dial-up still exists, but it does still exist, and it's mostly in rural and high poverty areas. So now are we going backwards by saying, sorry, no more AOL, and we're taking access away from thousands of people? And it's only thousands, not millions. So are we just taking that access away because there isn't the infrastructure to support the magic of Wi-Fi?
It kills it on rural access is Starlink. Yeah. I do a bunch of camping in the summer and the fall, and it's amazing to see how many people have Starlink, because you're often in places where we don't have good access, whether you're what we call boondocking. I could see you love boondocking, Liz.
Yes,
that's like when you're camping without access to facilities and, the internet.
Oh, God.
Did you just have a panic attack? All right, fantastic. And then finally, Liz, from Education Week, August 9th, this is Sarah D. Sparks. And I think this it felt near and dear to us. So you want teachers to learn how to use AI for instruction? Let them design the tools, which you could probably say for students as well. So this is a study from CRPE, the Center for Reinventing Public Education. And this is a team that we've actually had a couple really nice talks with over the last few months. So what's going on here?
Yeah, well, the Center on Reinventing Public Education found that teachers in California learn to use generative AI most effectively when they design tools themselves to solve specific instructional challenges. Through the Silicon Schools Fund's Exploratory AI program in 2024-25, more than 80 teachers and administrators from 18 schools, which were district schools, charter schools, and private schools, across California received training in AI basics, identified school-specific problems, and created custom tools such as a chatbot for collaboration and an app for restorative justice activities. And the research emphasized that integrating AI into instruction works best when driven by a clear educational vision rather than adopting AI for efficiency alone.
Yeah, resonates with your book that's coming out, Learning They'll Love.
Yes.
Learning They'll Love, about personal, right? Here's a problem. And then how do I learn how to use this technology in order to address, accelerate an opportunity, take care of a problem? So really neat stuff. And CRPE is doing really great work across the country. I think they're going to have a big fall gathering as well of thought leaders. So neat work there. So Liz, you said a mountain state is crushing it.
It is.
But you left it on are we talking Colorado, Wyoming? Arizona?
We are talking Utah.
All right.
Beehive State.
This is from KUER 90.1.
All right.
Just felt like a DJ for the first time. This is Martha Harris. Utah has emerged as a national leader in figuring out AI in K-12 education. Really like the stuff that's going on here. So get us rolling.
So over a year ago, Utah appointed Matthew Winters as the first statewide AI specialist for K-12, enabling coordinated guidance, vetting of AI tools for privacy and security, and structured teacher training. So the Utah Education Network supports these efforts with infrastructure, discounted vetted tools, and collaborative networks of tech directors. So teacher training emphasizes AI concepts, safety, and creative classroom integration, ending with educators submitting AI-infused lesson plans for which they are paid through a state grant. So I assume that they can then be shared and other people can access them.
Yeah, that seems like the approach here is like, let's coordinate and scale.
Yeah. So Winters is embedding AI into existing curriculum standards rather than creating separate ones, which is a great idea, with a strong emphasis on human oversight and AI literacy. Early classroom applications have included customizing instruction for English language learners and students with disabilities, as well as helping teachers interpret student data to meet diverse needs. It's not all perfect, though. Challenges remain in helping teachers apply AI creatively in their subject areas.
Yeah, really neat. I mean, we covered a few weeks back, we talked about how 28 states across the country now, here in the United States, have AI guidance. But we called out some states, I think Georgia and North Carolina. North Carolina had that cool little acronym. I think it was EVERY, and it was all about being thoughtful and critical about what you're looking at. Yeah, so really good work happening here, especially around the idea of coordination, especially from such a big state, right? Here in Connecticut, we have a thing called the CEN, which, is similar in some role, but clearly Utah's putting some real money behind this. So part of the benefit of that statewide coordination is that you've got also a better data collection and evaluation. So rather than having, independent school projects and pilots, you don't have this siloed data. You can actually have a clearer picture of what is working and what isn't working. I love the idea that the network also essentially helps distribute free tools, but also provides a subsidy for paid tools, right?
Right.
So it kind of makes access a little bit easier, less friction involved in that process. Teacher training, as Liz noted, paying teachers for participation, being part of that kind of bank. Personalized learning for diverse student groups. Yeah, as you mentioned, there's this piece about embedding AI into content standards. I just want to make a quick reference. You know how I love referencing our Skills 21 prompt library. So it's skills21.org/prompts. There's a prompt in there under the curriculum bucket. Essentially, it's like an AI literacy mapper. And the way the prompt is written, it's designed so that you can say, hey, I'm teaching 7th grade. I'm focused on science. Help me think about how AI literacy can kind of fit in that content area. And it's using all of its access in the large language model and its understanding around standards and ISTE nets and other cross-reference standards, the Common Core. So I think that might be worth checking out. It's called AI Literacy Planning, but it's embedded in this idea of bringing AI into subject area rather than being a standalone asset. So yeah, good on you, Utah. Liz, we're moving quite along.
We are.
Yeah. All right, Liz. So our buddy Cam is about to come on air and talk about the student-facing AI curriculum work that we're doing. We're starting to demo that for some school districts, which is great. We should mention real quickly that the registration is now up and live for the fall micro-credential. So it's skills21.org/AI/micro. Folks can sign up for that. A number of people from the podcast were on the waiting list over the summer. You got the notice first, and so I've actually seen some registrations come in already. And Liz, that's going to start in
October. I think October 7th, maybe.
Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Cam Audia, the executive producer of ChatEDU. As we look to the next academic year, many schools are exploring how to implement AI literacy efforts for students. Building on the success of our AI teacher micro-credential, EdAdvance, and ChatEDU, are launching a middle and high school student AI literacy program. This cutting-edge curriculum is hosted on our FERPA-compliant AI platform and will help students develop the knowledge and skills they'll need to navigate AI now and into the future. To learn more, email Matt and Liz at chatedu@edadvance.org.
All right, Matt, it's now time to go beneath the surface with some talk on agent mode.
It's funny because you and I have been slightly critical about agent hype, right? Wouldn't that be fair to say?
Yes, you definitely.
You're taking yourself out of the mix on that. Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about agents. And, I think when deep research emerged, that was the first time where we said, there's something agentic, love that word, going on, where the user's really not independently doing the work. An AI agent is, and this was really just like an internet searching agent, but I think many of us have used deep research and are quite impressed with that agent, whether it's in Gemini or in ChatGPT. We give a prompt like, investigate the relative driver's seat comfort of the Honda CRV versus the RAV4? Or have you done any fiber arts deep research tasks?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Haven't needed.
One I model a lot is if you're in a town, or when I'm in a town, I'll say do a research brief, like a deep research brief on the population growth in that town over the next 15 years and the implication on school enrollment, and even involve stuff like, take a look at open available public land if we need to build a new school. I mean, that's a significant research task. And in 4.5 minutes, the thing churns through 70 websites and says these ones were good and kind of writes it all up. So I think we've all become impressed with that. The next level of an agent was one that could take multiple steps, like a deep research, but then do something with it, right? Go do this deep research, but then populate a spreadsheet for me. Or, we're going to talk through some different scenarios. But the reality is, and I think I've noticed this, and it's it's woven its way into some of the summer leadership retreats. The reality is that I work with a lot of district teams where the district team has ChatGPT Teams, which is a paid-for account, and also kind of keeps the data walled off from the training data. So it's not exactly 1,000%, compliant with all data privacy laws, but leaders have felt comfortable having that. And in those accounts, folks have ChatGPT agent. It's just sitting there next to the 76 other things that are sitting there. Yeah. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time doing some brainstorming with teams this summer about what is this thing and what are the scenarios? And frankly, I'm very interested to hear from school and district leaders and teachers in time, though less teachers have access to those paid tools, right? What would you do with this? And are you comfortable with it? So we thought we'd take a little bit of time. This is not a story. We're really just looking through some different scenarios. So this expanded capability in ChatGPT, this is really just there right now, allows the AI to perform complex multi-step tasks autonomously. But importantly, unlike deep research, this includes logging into third-party systems without always keeping the human in the loop, right? It will say, hey, I'm going to log into the system, but it's not like it's checking in with you every 5 seconds. So as a result, brainstorming sessions, focusing on how to best leverage these tools and also how to set appropriate policies and safeguards. So, we're going to share some examples that span administrative and instructional and operational compliance domains, from, making board packets to flagging operational issues. There's a bunch of scenarios we want to share. But the reality is this is here, it's available. And in some cases, I don't know that, folks in leadership teams or on our teaching force are saying, wait, just because we can do this, does it mean we should do it? Now, you've been in your work on LEAP, right, which is our statewide attendance project, you've been doing some agentic stuff. What have you been doing?
Yeah, well, we are always looking for better ways to collect data. And so one of the tasks I had recently was to create a list of schools. So I certainly could have gone to the Connecticut State website and just pulled the districts and all their schools. But not all the schools in each district are doing LEAP. So I instead took the huge spreadsheet I have of all the LEAP visits and was able to tell the agent to go through that spreadsheet and find every unique school per district and go make me a new spreadsheet with 2 columns with district and school. And then I could go through, and there was still some cleanup because of spelling errors, right? So
on whose part? The agents or yours?
No, on the entries that I have. So some people will put Norwalk High School, some will put NHS, gotcha. Some will put Norwalk, right? So so there's still some cleanup needed, but that saved me so much time from having to then sort and look through all the schools and, find the unique data. And I know that there's probably other ways to do it in Excel, but this was me not having to go figure out what is that command. I could just say, go make me a new spreadsheet. I'm hoping that I can use it to one of the other things I do each data collection period is so I have all the data in the first spreadsheet, but then I want a spreadsheet with each district divided at the bottom. And I'm hoping that it will be able to just make me all of that automatically.
Do you watch it work? It's really interesting. Maybe you can, do you watch it work?
No.
Oh, really?
Just let it go.
I do. It's like watching TV. It's so interesting. Wow. So it spawns. That's probably not the right word. It fires up a virtual machine, right? So it's kind of creating a little mini browser inside your ChatGPT window, and then you watch it go to each page and then open up the spreadsheet and fill in the cell and then go back to the website and then hit a 504 error in a website and then adjust to that error and go, okay, obviously there's nothing on that page. But then you watch it, that's fine. But then you watch it go over and open up the spreadsheet and fill in the columns and then move between spreadsheets. I mean, it's just quite interesting. And if it has to log into a third-party system where you've granted it access, then you see it logging into that system. That's the place for me, frankly, where my anxiety lifts a little bit. And we'll talk about that as we run through that. So what I thought we'd do here is, as I was doing a couple retreats, I ran through some possible agent scenarios that are certainly within the realm of what's technically possible, so that teams could think about that and decide what makes sense. It's funny, in one of those, I probably should have talked to the superintendent and the tech director before I did this, because like halfway through the list, the superintendent's like looks over the tech director. Can we do that? Can people do that right now? Which is sort of my point, but maybe like the Miami-Dade story, maybe I had the cart before the horse. So my bad. All right. So the first one I've got here is an instructional walkthrough synthesizer, right? So you've got this like CSV, this Excel file of walkthrough notes that administrators collect as they go do teacher observations. And so the idea is that you could assign the agent to go dig into those notes, find trends, strengths, needs, outliers, right? So look at all that data and then produce a 2-page brief with PD strategies, look forwards, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a little bit of research and a little bit of action, which is mostly what this is about, right?
Right.
All right, give me another one.
DIRG competitive benchmarking deck.
Now, is DIRG a Connecticut thing or is it a universal thing?
I don't know if it's a universal thing. If it's not, a DIRG...
It's a district reference group, right?
Is a district reference group, which puts schools in, I think, A through 8, GHI.
Showing our literacy here.
I'm not sure what the final letter is. That kind of puts all school districts that are in the same basic like income, size, demographics, sports, like all together.
Yep.
So that when you can, you want to compare your data to other schools, you want to compare to like neighboring districts, but you also want to make sure you're comparing to like schools that are like yours.
Sure.
You can research the top 3 districts in your DIRG and gather press coverage, budget information, student performance data, and then compile the findings into, you can then tell an agent to go make you a 10-slide PowerPoint presentation, including charts, like export the deck right onto your Google Drive.
Yeah.
Human oversight needed. Human oversight needed.
I knew I was going to trigger Liz with this one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Really, really interesting. So actually in the district I was yesterday, we sort of showed this and it did exactly as anticipated. Now the slide decks are not like, if you think about Gamma as a tool to build slide decks and an agent, in this case, ChatGPT's agents, the slide decks are not as pretty as Gamma.
Right.
But in this case, Gamma's not going out doing all this kind of complex research, gathering data, and then putting it together. I mean, Gamma kind of generally just uses its language model, but this is quite a bit more. I feel like Liz, where we looked at the video that comes off of Notebook LM,
right.
which is just remarkable, and Liz is like, could be better.
Slides aren't that great.
Yeah. All right. This is one that I would personally love right up until a point. So calendar coordination with meeting requests. So you would say to your agent, check my calendar, right? So look at my calendar for open slots this week and then send meeting requests to all the people that I know I need to meet with, right? And fill in accepted meetings and maybe even put together, like I run a very small team here. I don't think I do this as much as I used to, but I used to have like an open spreadsheet where I would just track all the tasks that we're working on collaboratively. Like, I'm a very collaborative coach, boss, whatever you want to call it, right? So you could say, okay, great, check my calendar. Here are my 5 people on my team, fill people in where their calendar or my calendar meets, and then look at their status updates on their tracking spreadsheet, and then create an agenda for us based on that meeting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of great.
That would be very helpful.
But right up to the point where, again, like this agent task could do all those things, but then also email you, email me, make that coordination. Now, I think that feels fine because if it gets messed up between our internal calendars, but imagine you're a superintendent of a big district and you're doing this with all your department chairs or exactly your board members. It's just, where is that human control? I think just keeps coming on here. All right, so let's do one on state regulations. These are all kind of leadership oriented. We'll do a couple here that are more teacher focused in just a sec.
Yeah, so like you could download the latest state education regulations from some sort of official website and then take out those actionable compliance checkpoints, pull them into an Excel table, and email the table to the leadership team with like an implementation timeline.
That's great. I know superintendents that have their executive assistants do that, but imagine if your agent is just like constantly hitting the, respective both federal and state, getting updates, finding the right people, off you go.
Right. I would love something to send me reminders on I'm just thinking like I work on a bunch of different projects because I do serve kind of two different roles here, like all the AI stuff and the Leap stuff. And I feel like my workflow is often that I'm like doing stuff in one bucket and then I take all of that off my plate and do Leap stuff for like a week every 3 months. But I need the reminders of like, but this is also coming up. And like sometimes I can put reminders in my calendars, but like if I had a better way to like organize and an agent could tell me like what other things are coming up more regularly.
It reminds me, so it's all super collaborative here, right? So I support Liz's research work, but obviously her AI work, your AI work is more important to me. So maybe I could build an agent that hides from you all the things that you need to do on the research side of the house, and you only see the stuff on the AI side of the house. So.
I do not think Jonathan would support that.
No, I don't think so either. All right. Isn't that funny, though, the idea of like, aggressive, assertive agents that can be used to box people out? Oh, boy.
Great. Give the audience ideas.
I know. There you go. All right. If you come up with one of those, email us at chatEDU@edadvance.org. So here's a finance one, right? Log into this. This is one gets me nervous. So a monthly finance reconciliation. Log into the district's finance portal. Download the transactions into CSV format. Categorize expenses by the last quarter's budget codes. Cameron would love this. And upload the reconciled file to our shared drive. I mean, this is a piece of work. So Cam, our executive producer, also manages all of our accounts receivable, payable, all that stuff. I mean, this is chunks and chunks of her days.
Right.
Don't worry, Cam. We're not going to let an agent take over your work. All right?
No, but if it could support her work and like
Sure.
she could be doing other great things.
Yeah. That's a great point, right? That's the whole theme for all this work, is that where are you as a human being adding the most value? And I think that's the opportunity and challenge is always the case with this technology, because Cameron does like unbelievable work for us on the podcast. She also does great work in video development.
Video stuff is amazing.
Wonderful, wonderful work. And, I think she enjoys like the organizational task of the finance bit. She might listen to this and be like, no, Matt, I don't. But nonetheless, it could be a good co-intelligence or an augmentation.
Yeah.
All right. One more on the ops side. So this is vendor contracts.
Yeah. So something like when I receive a vendor contract in my district email, download it, summarize the key clauses and bullet points, add the summary to our central contracts folder, and notify me in Teams when complete. Like, it's crazy that you could just have something do that in the background. Like you don't even need to really touch it. I mean,
this is the world we're moving into, though, and that's
right.
why I want to kind of cover some of these on the podcast, just to get our wheels spinning. Because honestly, as is the case with so many things with this topic, right? You don't have the ability until you do, right? So you don't have deep research until you do. All of a sudden, deep research could be an incredibly powerful resource. Right. But what are the use cases, right? What does it look like? What do we do with it? Notebook LM, all these things. Yeah, you and I were just like loving last week the storybook thing from Gemini, right? We both looked at it. I made a
really cool one this morning.
We did it in real time together. And we're like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's so clear what the outcome is. Like Google built this thing. I upload a photo. It makes an awesome storybook. I can read it aloud. I don't need a lot of imagination. Right. But even Notebook LM or deep research or now agents, like we have to kind of have conversations as humans, human to human, to think about where does this tech add value? And also what boundaries do we want to put and policies do we want to put in place? So let's do a couple teacher ones.
All right. So parent communication tracking and follow-up. Oh my gosh, this would have been so helpful. So pull the last month's parent emails from my inbox, flag any unanswered messages. I would do this like weekly.
Wait, do you mean you had unanswered messages in your inbox?
Rarely, but sometimes.
Okay.
But then draft responses based on prior communication history and schedule them in my email client for review before sending. When I worked at a boarding school, there was so much parent communication because you're serving in loco parentis. So we were emailing not just about academics, and there was constant communication. Yeah. And, sometimes there were emails that I was like, oh, I totally meant to email back her mom, or, oh, I meant to ask this teacher about this for this kid. But if someone could have organized like my parental communication, because it's not that I didn't want to do it, but there's so many things that call for your attention during the day. So if an agent could just flag those and basically write the responses.
Well, everything but send. That's what I like about this one is like draft responses and then just put them in my drafts folder so I can review them. And maybe it's a special folder to say, the agent says, hey, Matt, there's this stuff. Go take a look at it. But yeah, that would be a great, great piece, right? We could also look at, data analysis, which we're seeing more and more of, especially as people are kind of moving more frequently towards Gemini, which is FERPA compliance. So analyze last week's formative quiz scores, sort students into skill-based groups, the bluebirds, redbirds, create corresponding level practice assignments in Google Classroom, and send each group a tailored message explaining their next step. Yeah, it's that last one where maybe it's like, make a draft of the message to send for that next step. But sure, that's another interesting piece, right?
You could look at student progress data. So download benchmark assessment results from the district portal, create a color-coded spreadsheet showing student growth by the standards, and, highlight students who need targeted small group intervention on which standards. So yeah, cool.
Cool stuff, right? So these are all just examples to get the wheels spinning. We really encourage, lots of folks that listen to the podcast serve on their AI's planning team. And so we certainly encourage folks to do a little bit of work on your planning team, exploring, especially as agent mode becomes available to more folks. This is just in ChatGPT right now, but clearly Gemini is going to be there too. Microsoft and Copilot will be there as well. Yeah. So certainly worth thinking about.
But I think you also need to remember that building these agents will take some time. And so initially, it may take longer than that task would take you to do once. And remembering, that's often my thing, I could just do this faster. And I can do it faster one time. But over time, if it could ultimately save me time by putting in the upfront time, that's where we need to think about these things, because I'm often I could just sort my email myself. And then I'm oh, but over time, if I do this every time, I can automate some of it. So there is that learning curve, and you have to be okay with it.
Do you know why I'm smiling so broadly right now?
I don't know.
Okay. So last week we did a prompt at the very beginning of the episode, and the prompt was basically look at my chat history and tell me how to become a better prompter.
Right.
And what did Yield ChatGPT say to you?
Basically make some custom GPTs, because you keep asking the same things without being more efficient. And I think, 1,000%.
You have internalized that, Dr. Ade.
Yeah.
The chatbot, whether it's a Gordon Gekko or a sociopath or your best friend, it's proud of you.
Oh, yes. Thinks all of my ideas are brilliant.
All right, Liz, now it is time for a little Bright Byte.
I love a Bright Byte.
Me too. So Bright Bytes are stories where AI is doing positive things, usually through machine learning or data analytics or sometimes vision. The story is actually a combo of a few of those things in science, culture, medicine, energy, the environment, workforce development, global poverty, all that stuff, disaster recovery.
So many things.
All of it. Now, I have to say, we've been a little Google obsessed.
Yes.
And this is another one, but it's Google and NASA. At the same time, Google's DeepMind lab is just an incredibly well-resourced lab. I was listening to Demis Hassabis, who is the CEO of Google DeepMind.
And Nobel Prize winner, right?
Nobel Prize winner, world-class chess player. He really is a fascinating, I have to say, of all these folks, right? He's such an interesting character. There's so few. It's really something that the field needs to think about. There's not a ton of women in these executive leadership roles, except Mira Murati, who is the former CTO, the Chief Technology Officer for OpenAI, now has a company called Thinking Machines. She's kind of left OpenAI and started this company. I'm just trying to look and see what the valuation is. No one knows yet what the company does entirely. She founded it. She hired a bunch of people. Let's see. She has just received $2 billion investment. This company is worth $12 billion, Miss Murati, and basically no idea what it does. It's called Thinking Machines, though. It sounds really cool.
How do I just create a company called Learning They'll Love, and it might not do anything, but it might do something really cool. Just give me $12 billion.
You don't even need $12 billion. It's just going to do something. Okay.
Billion.
All right. How did we get here? Oh, Demis Hassabis.
Yes.
Google DeepMind. I saw an interview with him last week, and he basically said, we are putting something out every single day.
It's crazy.
7 days a week. Google is releasing something. They just released this new, you and I have covered all the alphas, AlphaFold,
yep.
Alpha Evolve,
AlphaGo,
Alpha Geometry,
right.
And they just did one called Alpha Earth, where they're aggregating all the satellite data all over the world to do climate modeling and all this good stuff. All right, but let's talk about Google and NASA. So Google and NASA are testing AI for medical care in space, which is cool, but it's really for other applications right here down on our celestial Earth. So this is from Google blog. Dr. Ade, tell us about this one.
Yeah. So Google and NASA developed the Crew Medical Officer Digital Assistant, CMO-DA.
You know, no one reads an acronym like you do.
Love it. An AI-powered clinical support system to help astronauts diagnose and treat medical issues autonomously during deep space missions like Artemis. So it's trained on spaceflight medical data. The tool uses natural language processing and machine learning to deliver real-time analysis when Earth communication is delayed. So early tests show promising diagnostic performance, and the system may enhance remote healthcare on Earth.
Are you a Star Trek person? I can't remember if we talked about that in a while. Yeah, so on Star Trek, have you ever seen it though with the, what do they call they like put it over your body and it would do all this kind of analysis.
Oh, no.
Yeah, although they didn't really talk about broadband, Wi-Fi, and connectivity up on the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise. But yeah, so here's this idea. You're up in space. You've got all the power of a large language model, or in this case, machine learning tools and natural language processing, but you don't have tethered communications back to Earth. So they figure if they can use AI to help solve medical problems up in space, that means if I'm somewhere in the Earth where I don't have Starlink or boop, 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 the dial-up access anymore on AOL, that it's got some value here in remote communities on Earth.
I've heard of like the need for medical procedures for people that are in Antarctica because they are there for long times. And I think there was actually someone that did their own, like, was it a breast cancer surgery?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Because they detected a lump like while you're stuck in Antarctica because you can't leave for like 6 months or something.
Right.
Amazing that she was able to do that then, but like how much better this could be to not have to do that to yourself.
You know who I think covered that story was John Hartman on NBC News. I'm just trying to trigger kiddles at this point. All right, Dr. A, listen, as always, many folks are back to school at this point. You know, both people that we work with in the central parts of the state or the western part of the United States. We've been working with our crew from Australia and New Zealand, where
they're like in the middle of winter.
So they're winter time. They're very much in school. But certainly it's nice to see the podcast. You know, we saw lots of engagement, got lots of really nice emails over the summer back here in our hemisphere. But certainly I've noticed that a lot more engagement, numbers going up. So, you know, we will collectively say welcome back. It is fascinating. One final thought. Do you know that this year's seniors have essentially lived their entire high school career, not every month of it, but basically all 4 years with generative AI?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Because the fall of 2022, they would have been freshmen.
Wow.
And they're now seniors.
That's
some level. Sometimes this stuff feels like it just happened yesterday, but to think that like a whole 4 years of kids having no other experience in high school other than using AI as a tutor so that they can grow and never as a shortcut. No, just kidding. It's kind of remarkable. The Atlantic just did a really nice piece called like, "This is just the beginning," but made that point. I was reading, I was like, oh my God, that's right. 4 years, the entire
whole high school career.
Yeah, that's something.
Wow, that's remarkable.
It is. And given that now, Liz, it is time to
tell everyone to vote for us for South by Southwest because this comes out on Friday the 22nd. So if you are listening to this on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, go vote for us on South by Southwest. The link is in there. And then I will say it's time to roll the credits.
Dr. Reddy, 72 episodes in, you are a serious pro.
I'm doing my best.
Love it. Thanks, everybody.
As always, we'd love to hear what you think. So please let us know at ChatEDU@edadvance.org. That's EDADVANCE.org. And also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. ChatEDU is brought to you by EdAdvance, the nonprofit regional education service center in Litchfield, Connecticut. This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. ChatEDU is recorded, edited, and produced by Andre Angelo and Justin Pasco, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. ChatEDU's executive producer is the multi-talented rock star Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big ChatEDU shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am the executive director at EdAdvance, and I want you to know how much we appreciate our listeners. If you enjoyed the podcast, feel free to explore EdAdvance's other AI services, which include customized professional learning of all kinds, conferences, and our micro-credential co-sponsored by the Southern Connecticut State University Office of Workforce and Lifelong Learning. Just visit skills21.org/AI to learn more. That's all for now, and thank you again for listening to ChatEDU.